Hey squad, so today I'm going to go into every single permit you're going to need if you want to hike the Continental Divide Trail. So I either hike the Continental Divide Trail southbound, so that's the order of which permits I'm going to go into. If you go northbound, obviously you're going to need these same permits, it'll just be in the opposite order. Alright, so the first permit you're going to need is in Glacier National Park, and it is a backcountry wilderness permit. So to camp at any site in the backcountry in Glacier National Park, you're going to need this permit. And if you're hiking the Continental Divide Trail, you're going to need a camp in the backcountry of Glacier National Park, most likely. So you can get this one in two ways. You can either reserve online through a lottery system, or you can pick them up in person. Either way, you need to go to a ranger station and pick it up either the day of or the day before. I do go into a bit more details about this permit in my story in the Continental Divide Trail video. So if you're interested, go watch that one. If not, don't. Right, and then technically the trail does cross the Blackfeet Nation reservation for 5.7 miles. I did not do any camping on their land. I just walked across it. However, I did not get their permit because their website was too confusing to figure out before I left. So I'm not sure if I did anything wrong there. If recreation means camping, or if recreation means camping and hiking. I did see in East Glacier when I stayed at the hostel that she had a permit for her hostel, so I'm not sure if that covered everybody who stayed at her hostel, like for camping and such, if you camp there or whatever. So I don't know. If I did anything wrong, I deeply apologize. But Blackfeet Nation, you need a better website. Yeah. Alright, and then your next permit isn't until Yellowstone National Park, and the Yellowstone National Park works very similar to the Glacier National Park permit. Again, they have walk-ups, but you could reserve ahead of time. Again, it is a lottery. It opens early March. I believe the window for the entering the lottery is March 1st through the 20th. Obviously, it would change every year, but I guess just keep your eyes open if that's something you want to do. But if you're through hiking, you're most likely going to get walk-up permits, and for southbounders, this is really easy because there is a ranger station in West Yellowstone, which is the town you resupply in most likely before you go into Yellowstone National Park. So there's a ranger station there. You can get your permits either day of or next day, and hike out. So the way we did this when I was hiking is we got our permits for next day, and then we camped right on the border of Yellowstone, and then so the next day we could pull miles into Yellowstone. Otherwise, if you wanted to hike out the next day, I guess that's an option. But that's logistically kind of complicated, or I guess you could zero, but like if you got your permits, probably the most logistical easy thing is just to get back on trail and go into Yellowstone the next day, because it's like, depending upon which route you're taking into Yellowstone, it's a bit of a trek to get to the Yellowstone border still. However, this permit is kind of complicated going northbound, it seems to be. Obviously, I really can't speak to this because I did my through hike southbound, but I think your best bet is just to hike until you get to the road that goes to the ranger station and seal your thumb, and hopefully there's something left by the time you get there. If not, Yellowstone does have hiker-biker sites that are first come, first serve in most of their campgrounds. So that might be an option for you as well. But you're gonna have to be really flexible there. So yeah. Alright, and then the next permit I want to cover is the permit for Grand Teton National Park. Now, I know the red line does not go through Grand Teton National Park, but since the Teton alternate is becoming more popular, and it's something that I did, I want to quickly cover it. So, the permit for Grand Teton National Park, you may or may not need it. So, if you want it, you can reserve online early. I believe you can book those reservations. It's first come, first serve online starting mid-January. Otherwise, they do have walk-up options as well. But if you're not camping in the park itself, you do not need this permit. So when I did it, we did not get the permit. We just camped outside of the park and walked through the park, and then camped outside of the park, and then walked through the park and walked outside of the park, because the trail kind of weaves in and out of the park. So just be aware of that and where you're camping. All right, and then the next possible permit is Rocky Mountain National Park. The red line really only spends like 25, 27 miles in Rocky Mountain National Park. And as long as you do that all in one go and do not camp, you will not need to get the permit. However, if you can't do that many miles, there is an alternate that's only like 5, 10-ish miles, where again, if you do it in one go and don't camp, you will not need to get the permit. However, if you do decide to camp, you will need to get the permit, as well as use a bear canister. They require you to have a bear canister if you're going to camp overnight in this park. This permit is available online if you want advance reservations. It's first come, first served basis starting March. I think it's early March. However, they do have walk-ups availability at ranger stations as well. It works similar to Yellowstone and Glacier National Park. And when I was through hiking, there was a forest fire from the previous year that had done a lot of damage in the park, so they were only letting people on the trail who had a permit, a wilderness permit, whether they were using it or not. They just wanted to restrict the numbers and only let people with wilderness permits to use the trail to reduce traffic. So, in that case, we just ended up walking the road. So that may be an option for you as well. But since then, they have lifted those restrictions. So you should be able to just go right on through. Right, and then the only other permit you possibly need to get is the Indian Peak Wilderness Permit. Now, you get this permit 3 days in advance on their website. I do not believe there's any limit to how many people can get this permit. However, you can get away without getting this permit because the trail only goes through this wilderness area for 3.6 miles, and again 2.6 miles, and again 5.1 miles. So as long as you do not camp in those stretches, you don't have to worry about the permit. All right, and then when I was doing my research for the Continental Divide Trail, I ran across something that said something about New Mexico state lands, to like camp or cross state lands in New Mexico. However, since February 2023, that permit is no longer something that they do, so you do not need to worry about that. If you see anything like that, it's not a thing. Don't worry about it. You do not need anything for New Mexico. All right, so those are the permits you will need to hike the Continental Divide Trail. I will again leave links to all of them down below, and I hope you found this video helpful, and that's all I have for you today. So I'll see you out there.